The fusion dance and the Potara Earrings give birth to two of the most powerful characters in Dragon Ball, Gogeta and Vegito. We've seen them appear throughout DBZ, DBS, and even in GT. Well, what if we talk about their famous battles, but give it a bit of a twist? In this video, we'll be switching the places of Gogeta and Vegito and putting them against different opponents. And with scaling, we'll determine if either fusion can defeat their new enemy. Instead of Vegito fighting Buhan, it'll be the same Goku and Vegeta that fuse against Buhan, except they'll be performing the fusion dance and fuse into Gogeta, a hypothetical Super Gogeta from the Buu Saga versus Buhan. In this scenario, Goku and Vegeta don't have access to the Potara Earrings. We can make something up and say Goku lost the other pair, whilst we already know Gohan dropped the other earring. Buhan rushes to attack them, and Goku and Vegeta decide to use the fusion dance. Gogeta is born, and he leaps into battle. So, who would win, Gogeta or Buhan? Before we can even answer the question, we need to find out how strong a hypothetical Gogeta from the Buu Saga would be. We can't use feats from the movie, as it's been stated that the movie timeline and DBZ timeline are completely separate. In fact, you may as well consider the movie timeline an alternate reality filled with what-if scenarios, such as Frieza having a brother. It is stated in not just the DBZ anime canon, but the DBZ manga, that Potara is stronger and just outright more effective than the fusion dance. This is because the fusion dance not only has a time limit of 30 minutes, but it can also be cut short if the fusion uses too much power. The Potara has no sort of time limit and seems to draw out the fusion's potential to the fullest, as Goku and Vegeta gain rival boost when fusing into Vegito, making them stronger than ever. However, this was retconned in Dragon Ball Super, as now Potara has a time limit of 1 hour, is permanent for only gods, and can diffuse quickly if the fusion uses too much power. Now, before I continue, I think it's best that I debunk any possible claims regarding Potara versus fusion. Elder Kai is incredible since he's never witnessed a Potara before. This is just flat out wrong. As a matter of fact, Elder Kai has been a party to a Potara with his very own self, and the boost fusion gives based on witnessing Gotenks, and still stated that Potara is outright superior. It's because he thought Potara was superior because time limit. This would be just plain headcanon is headcanon, and a huge reach. Not to mention being blatant misinterpretation due to the fact both Goku and Elder Kai allude to the fact that they're specifically talking about having the power to defeat Buu. Getting back to the topic, according to Buu-tanks, even if Goku and Gohan perform the fusion dance, which is what Buu was referring to, considering he doesn't notice the earrings at this point and says of hearing the word fuse, and fusion dance is the only fusion he was aware of at the time, it would be undoubtedly futile. Why is this important, you may ask? Because Goku goes on to fuse with Vegeta, someone weaker than him, and goes on to absolutely own a massively stronger version of Buu himself. Yes, Goku and Vegeta had a rival boost on top of the Potara fusion, but that shouldn't matter too much, considering that a hypothetical Gohan in base form was stated by Elder Kai to be more than enough to kill Buu-tanks. Buhan is born, followed by Vegeta arriving on Earth, and Goku pressures Vegeta into fusing with him via the Potara. Buhan races towards them and states that even if Goku and Vegeta performed the fusion dance, he'd still be stronger. So he's specifically talking about fusion. Buhan states verbatim that even if Goku and Vegeta fused into Gogeta, there would be no match for him. But Buhan was proven wrong. He got stomped by Vegito, and he said this in mind with Vegito's upcoming birth, and he was aware of the earrings at this point. Him being proven wrong works in Vegito's favor, since it proves my previous point of Potara being vastly stronger than fusion, at least during Dragon Ball Z, prior to the retcon. What's in reference to is irrelevant. Buhan was still obviously going off the basis of what he knew about fusion at that point, and had no reason to assume it was weaker, which is completely illogical based off Goku's demonstrated confidence in it, and in fact likely assumed Potara was superior, considering Goku thought it a viable option, and Buhan was aware of this, despite he himself already being able to beat a fusion dance like SS3 Gotenks. If anything, this is what he would have assumed to be the case. But Buhan isn't credible. He has no way of knowing how strong Gogeta would have been or what the fusion dance multiplier is. Again, this would be incorrect. Buhan has seen the fusion dance performed right in front of him and felt the power of Gotenks at his strongest when he was a Super Saiyan and a Super Saiyan 3. So Buhan was talking about either a hypothetical SSJ1 Gogeta or SSJ3 Gogeta. Whichever the case, he himself believed that no matter what form Gogeta transformed into, it still wouldn't be enough. So we know that that a base Goku and Gohan fusion with the Potara Earrings would have been enough to defeat Butenks, but a fusion of Goku and Vegeta wouldn't have been enough to defeat Buhan. The only argument I could see being made that would work in Gogeta's favor is that Buhan's statement means nothing since he's a Dragon Ball villain and most are cocky. Or Goku and Vegeta would still get a rival boost even if they use the fusion dance. The former statement is debatable and possible, as it wouldn't have been the first time a main antagonist believed themselves to be superior to their adversary, such as when Cell was still confident that he could beat Gohan despite transforming into a Super Saiyan 2. As for the latter, however, there's no way to figure out how the rival boost works, as it's only mentioned in the Buu saga and never mentioned again. Not to mention, Buhan should have knowledge on how fusion works due to absorbing Goten and Trunks and witnessing fusion himself, but he's also absorbed Piccolo, who was giving an explanation on fusion to both kids whilst Goku was present. It is stated in the Daizenshu that after Super Buu absorbed Gotenks and Piccolo, he gained power and wisdom, which is backed up by Butenks absolutely destroying Ultimate Gohan and acting more smarter, such as absorbing Gohan by catching him off guard. In regards to how strong a hypothetical Gogeta would be, all we have to go from is the GT Perfect files, as at the time it was airing, Dragon Ball GT was canon to Dragon Ball Z. The GT Perfect files state that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is only dozens of times more powerful than SSJ4 Goku. Dozens means anywhere from 24 to 96, whilst base Vegito is stated to be stronger than even Super Saiyan 3 Goku, a power multiplier of 400 times, which means Vegito is at a low ball 400 times stronger than Goku, but it could be much higher. So, if Goku and Vegeta fused against Buhan via the fusion dance, it wouldn't be enough to defeat him. Potara was just that much stronger than fusion at the time. However, I will say if Super Gogeta from the Janemba movie fought against Buhan, Buhan would get absolutely destroyed due to how crazy the movie scaling is for Gogeta. Now, let's cover how Super Vegito would go against Janemba. While this Vegito is powerful, you need to remember that Janemba is a movie villain in Dragon Ball Z, and I can't stress this enough. The movie villains just scale so differently compared to the main canon. Even the Goku that fought Janemba in the movie would absolutely stomp Buu Saga Goku, and this is all because of the different feats they displayed. In the DBZ anime, when transforming into Super Saiyan 3 for the first time, Goku was shaking the entire Earth, and his energy was felt from across the galaxy by Gohan. In DBZ Fusion Reborn, Goku shook the entire afterlife by just transforming into a Super Saiyan 3, and his energy is felt by the Grand Kai who resides in the afterlife, and the afterlife in Dragon Ball is as big as a universe. This feat is insane by Dragon Ball Z standards, and you'd usually hear something like this from Dragon Ball Super, but here you have Movie 12, Goku shaking a realm the size of a universe with his energy, and that very same Goku would go on to destroy base Janemba with Super Saiyan 3. But even base Janemba was stated by Goku to being the greatest energy he has ever felt, and that he was casually warping every dimension in reality just by existing. However, he would then transform into Super Janemba. Super Janemba was so powerful that he was able to make light work of Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and even Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, which required the two Saiyans to fuse. Keep in mind that since Goku is dead in the movie, the stamina problem of Super Saiyan 3 isn't an issue, which should allow him to make a better usage of the form. But even with that handicap, he's still no match for Janemba. Once Gogeta is born, he doesn't even hesitate to transform into Super Saiyan immediately, which implies that base Gogeta wouldn't have been enough to put Janemba down. As crazy as it sounds, base Janemba should have logically scaled above all Buu Saga characters anyway, as the movie dialogue suggests that Fusion Reborn is after Kid Buu, which makes sense as most DBZ movies take place in an alternate timeline. In this one, it takes place in a timeline where Buu was either defeated by Gohan or Gotenks. Not to mention, base Janemba's feat of being so powerful he's able to break the laws of life and death and has control over said concepts is far higher than any feat performed by Buu Saga Vegito or Buhan. Even Buhan's feat of threatening to destroy the universe with his outside space attack. The DBZ movie timelines just scale higher than the anime canon. However, if you were to take a Fusion Reborn Goku and Vegeta, have them use the earrings and fight Janemba, Janemba, it would result in a much stronger fusion, which would defeat Janemba more quickly. So, Buu Saga Vegito would not be able to defeat Fusion Reborn Janemba. We now jump into Dragon Ball Super, where there are two instances of fusions making an appearance to fight against an opponent, that being Vegeta Blue versus Zamasu and Gogeta Blue versus Broly. We're going to be covering a hypothetical Gogeta Blue versus Zamasu and then end it off with a Vegeta Blue versus Broly. Before we get into the match, it needs to be made known that Potara and the fusion dance had been retconned. Before, Potara had no time limit and was permanent no matter who was using the items, and the fusion dance had a time limit of 30 minutes, which could be shortened if the fusion used too much power, as we saw with Gotenks and Super Saiyan 3. But now, Potara has a time limit of 1 hour and can defuse if too much power is used, whilst the fusion dance has a time limit of 30 minutes and doesn't seem to have the issue of defusing too early if too much power is used. This majorly changes everything from the debate of Potara versus fusion, as even if you believe Potara is stronger, it wouldn't matter, as a Potara fusion such as Vegito can't reach his full potential of power due to the risk of defusing too early, which is what we saw when Vegeta Blue fought against Merged Zamasu. Another thing we need to remember is that anime and manga version of this fight was vastly different. In the manga, base Vegeta was able to damage and blow off half of Zamasu's body and proceeds to jump straight to Blue and absolutely dominate Merged Zamasu. In the anime, however, the two seem to be completely equal, with Vegeta Blue having the slight upper hand at times. The reason why the fight dragged on for so long was mainly due to Merged Zamasu's immortality that even Vegeta Blue couldn't overpower. We see Vegeta Blue use a final Kamehameha and Merged Zamasu just instantly heals, and before Vegito can land another solo attack, he defuses. The only way that Merged Zamasu was defeated was by an attack that ate away at his entire body within an instant, which is what we saw when Trunks gained the energy of all mortals on Earth, Goku and Vegeta, and used a Sword of Hope against Merged Zamasu. Now, back to the topic at hand regarding a hypothetical Gogeta Blue. I won't be getting into who's stronger, as there's already a video that should be out by the time this video releases, which answers the question of who's stronger. Whether you think Gogeta is weaker or stronger doesn't really matter, though there's also the argument of him being equal to Vegeta Blue, but just having less time and not the risk of defusing early. Now, most Gogeta fans will immediately bring up the Soul Punisher as an attack, which makes him a very good matchup for Merged Zamasu. But the Soul Punisher has also been changed. In DBZ, it was implied to have a special ability that erased all evil within an opponent and purified them, as we saw when Super Gogeta used the Soul Punisher, eradicated Janemba, and all that was left was a small Ogre that worked in Hell. However, now it just seems to be a flashy key attack that was supposed to be a callback to original DBZ when it made an appearance in the Gogeta vs Broly fight. One could argue that the reason why the Soul Punisher did nothing to Broly was because he isn't actually evil and is good but was overcome with rage. But as of recent times, there have been no sort of statements in regards to the Soul Punisher's ability to erase evil. It's more than likely just exclusive to the Fusion Reborn movie. However, for the sake of the video, let's say that the Soul Punisher does indeed erase evil. In that case, does it mean Gogeta Blue would one-shot Merged Zamasu? Well, assuming Gogeta Blue is more or less relative to Vegeta Blue, the attack would erase Merged Zamasu, but all it would do is bring Zamasu's last form, Infinite Zamasu. In an attempt to desperately defeat the mortals that struck him down, Zamasu's will survives in the form of Infinite Zamasu and appears in the sky, not only wrapping himself around the earth, but his energy alone begins to get felt across timelines. The only way to defeat Infinite Zamasu is to have Zeno erase the very timeline, and Gogeta wouldn't be able to do a thing. So, if Gogeta Blue fought Zamasu, assuming the Soul Punisher still works similar to how it was portrayed in Fusion Reborn, Zamasu's physical body would be destroyed, but he would just transform into Infinite Zamasu at a much quicker rate than he did in canon. Lastly, we have a hypothetical Vegeta Blue from the Broly movie versus Broly himself. Now, the answer to this matchup is actually quite simple. Assuming you believe Vegito and Gogeta are equal in strength, Vegeta Blue would be just as strong as Gogeta Blue was against Broly. The only thing holding him back would be the risk of defusing more quickly. Vegito would defeat Broly, assuming he doesn't play around and takes the fight seriously. It's a common misconception that Vegito is more cocky or more Vegeta-like, while Gogeta is more Goku-like. Vegito was acting cocky and messing around with Buhan, but not for the reason you think. He was acting that way because he wanted Buhan to absorb him him so that he could defeat him from the inside and save Gohan, Gotenks, Trunks, and Piccolo. Otherwise, Vegito would just one-shot Buhan. Vegito was dominating Buhan the entire time. There was no indicator that he was weaker than Buhan. He just believed in his plan and intended to see it through, rather than risk killing everybody that Buhan absorbed. In fact, for those who believe that Vegito wouldn't be able to beat Buhan due to his regeneration, not only is he able to blow off a piece of Buhan, but he's able to destroy it completely to the point where nothing is left, which even terrifies Buhan. We also know that Buhan is capable of regenerating from smaller pieces of himself or body parts, as we saw Fat Buu do it after Vegeta blew him to bits. The argument that Vegito is always cocky can immediately be debunked when you refer to the Goku Black arc. The moment that Vegito is born, he immediately powers up to Super Saiyan Blue and the fight begins. The only reason why he failed to defeat Zamasu was not only because of the enemy fusion's immortality, but as previously stated, the time limit that was supposed to be 1 hour was cut short due to the mere power of Vegito. However, there would still be enough time for Vegito to defeat Broly, and this battle would be far easier for Vegito as Broly is nowhere near skilled as a fighter as Zamasu, but also doesn't have regeneration. The only problem with Broly is he adapts constantly and grows in power due to his unique ability and Saiyan heritage. But Broly's adaptation will be pointless, as we saw with Gogeta. The moment Gogeta turned blue, Broly was finished. The same thing would happen with an arguably stronger fusion, but again, if you think they're equal, it doesn't matter. Goku and Vegeta fuse into Vegito. They jump straight to blue, beat up Broly, and defeat him.